G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Marky, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, let's get right into it. Cheers.
Am I the asshole here for telling my stepkids that I no longer view them as my kids? I'm 36 female, and my husband is 42 male, and has two daughters who are 16 and 13. My husband and I have been together for 8 years. For some context, the girls have a mum who is just not active in their life. She comes around once a year or every other year and stays for 2 to 3 months and then leaves. The problem is when she comes into town, the girls change. For example, after me and their dad got married, they started calling me mum as they felt I was their mum. But when their mum came back, they would stop and call her mum and push me to the side. I understood why they did that then, as they were young and confused, and were trying to please her. We put them in therapy, and their therapist had them apologize, and they tried to explain it. The next 2 times it happened, she told me to try and have a talk with them. Their mum decided not to come for the next 2 years, and it was a really peaceful 2 years. The kids were good, enjoying school and their new brother, and were just happy. But this year, their mum decided to come. She came in August and stayed until about a week ago. This time when she came, the girls changed completely, and it started with not calling me mum, to saying disrespectful things to me and their dad, to them telling their brother they didn't like him and that he wasn't their real brother, and some other stuff. But the main thing that they said that really hurt was that I wasn't their mum, and that I would never be, and that I'm a bad stepmom, and their mum is their only mum. So last week when their mum left, they slowly tried to crawl back and tried to start calling me mum again, and I told them that I didn't want them to call me that anymore. They looked shocked when I said that and asked why. I told them that they told me multiple times that I'm not their mum and that I'm a bad stepmom and that their mum is only their mum. So I said I no longer view you as my kids. They looked hurt and went to tell their dad what was said, and he said it's between us. Their therapist thinks that I was harsh, but I don't, as they are old enough to realize what's wrong to say and what's right. So am I the asshole here? Note, I also want to put, I don't blame the younger one as much as I blame the older one, as she should know better. And I understand things with parents are hard, but I was younger than her when I cut my father off, and he was similar to how their mum is. The rose-colored glasses should be faded or fading by now, as she's old enough to understand. In the comments, Programmer Rich says, "It sounds like their mum is in their ear telling them stuff, probably lies, about you and their dad. That's what it seems like is happening every time their mum shows up. They probably miss her and want her validation, so they listen to her." Yeah, that makes total sense. Kids soak up whatever they hear, especially from a parent that they are craving attention from. It's heartbreaking, but super common. I don't think it's necessarily lies, or else they wouldn't automatically try to make amends as soon as mum leaves. More likely, mum is letting them know that treating OP like shit makes her happy, and these girls, desperate to please their absentee mum, oblige. I feel bad for them, but OP's right. The 16-year-old is definitely old enough to know better. Edit, having said all that, I do think OP was a little harsh. Unless she wants to shut down the prospect of ever returning to a mother-daughter dynamic, in which case, well done. There's also a chance that birth mum is rewarding them for being mean to stepmom and dad. This sort of drama went down in my blended family. The biggest thing that stood out to me is that your husband had nothing to say except that it's between the 3 of you. What the girls said to you and what you said to them was all very hurtful, and your husband shouldn't be turning a blind eye to this. These words are relationship altering, and he should be intervening to try and keep his family together and to work it out. I understand where you're coming from and why you said what you did. I can't say for sure if I would have had the guts to say the words, but it sounds like they maybe needed to be said. Your girls need to understand everyone, even parents, have feelings that can be hurt. My take is that you need to navigate this because you are stuck with these mean girls and you are their parent. I wouldn't want them calling me mum either because you don't treat your mum that way, but we all know they're being influenced by bio mum, and you need to be the bigger person in this situation. Be the positive influence on them, but set those boundaries as to how you will accept being treated. Also, kick your husband in the rear. It sounds like the entire family needs to go to therapy and have this addressed so the kids can see how this affects their real mum. And dad can be confronted with how he hasn't stepped up to stop the bio mum from popping up and ruining the family dynamic whenever she feels like it. Look, OP, I completely get where you're coming from in this situation, and I see why you think it's unfair. You've been the stable parent in their lives for all these years, and it must hurt watching them just flip-flop every time their mum decides to pop up. I get it. But I think that when you say you don't see them as your kids anymore, that probably hurts them a lot more than you actually realize it does. They're only teenagers. Yes, I know they're old enough to know better, but they're still desperate for their bio mum's love, obviously, even if she's never there. People always talk about learning the hard way, and this is one of those instances. These teenagers are new to life. They have not got the instilled life lessons that a lot of older people do have. This is a situation where they will be learning the hard way. And I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not actively choosing to hurt you here. I genuinely think they are ignorant. If I were you, I'd tell them that you're hurting and that your trust with them has to be rebuilt, but I wouldn't say that you've lost your love for them completely. I wouldn't say that they are no longer your kids anymore. I think you should tell them that you still care, but you're done being treated as the second option in this situation. That way you set your boundaries that you need to set to protect yourself, but you also give them the space to grow up and come to their own conclusions later on, learn the hard way, as I said, and I believe they will learn that and realize how bad their mum, their bio mum, has messed them up. I hope that you listen to the feedback that the comments have given you. And now, onto the update. So I'm back with an update, and before I give the update, I want to start by answering a few of the main questions I saw. I saw a lot of questions that asked, why do we allow their mother in their lives? I'm not over that. My husband feels like it's not on him to keep the girls from seeing her. He will ask if they want to, and they say yes. Another question I saw a lot was why doesn't their dad say anything? He does. He's taken away their things before and has tried to have talks with them, and they just listen and block him out. The reason why he stayed out is because whenever they don't like something I tell them, they run to him, and he has said that he does side with me on this, but feels like I was too hard on them. A few days after I posted this, my husband and I sat down with the girls, and I told them that I was just sorry for what I said, and that I worded it wrong. I told them that I do still view them as my kids. They just aren't allowed to call me mum anymore and have to call me by my name now. I also told them that our relationship is broken and I didn't break it. I did help a little, but they broke it. And if they wanted it back to how it used to be, they would have to rebuild it. I also told them that they had to play with their brother for 3 hours and apologize to him. He is 4 years old. They had a few more punishments, but we did talk to them and try to figure out what she says that influences them so much. We got the answers of, I don't know. We told them that they can't be that easily manipulated, and especially the 16-year-old with her going to college soon and trying to drive, so we talked about things that could happen with that. We also told them that they can't just say what they want to people and expect things to stay the same, especially if it's stuff that hurts people. They apologized for the things they said and how they acted, and said they wanted things to go back to normal. I told them that I would forgive them when they did the stuff with their brother first, and that if they want things to go back to normal, then they would have to work for it. From what they said, they don't want to see their mum for a long time, so they will go to their therapist soon and talk to her about this. Edit, I've worded myself very wrong. They have to play with their little brother as an apology to him. He is 4. If they apologize, he's going to say it's okay and then continue to ignore them, so it's not a punishment. It's more of his apology. In the comments, No BS for me says, I'm glad you and your spouse were able to reach an agreement to help the girls understand that actions have consequences. I suggest you frame the time that they spend with their brother as atonement or a consequence rather than punishment, though. The very last thing your household needs is strife that causes a 4-year-old to think that he is somehow at fault for the tension. Teamwork and communication, like that displayed by you and your husband, is the best way to teach and show by example. Kudos. I was also a little like, what? I don't know, but wording time with their siblings as punishment is seriously fucked up. My husband feels like it's not on him to keep the girls from seeing her. He will ask if they want to, and they say yes. Your husband has failed his daughters in protecting them from someone who he knows damages them by continuously building up their hopes and dreams and crashes them time and time again by abandoning them. If he could absolutely not bring himself to not allow their mother in their lives whenever she pleased, he should have been far more vigilant and never allowed them to be unsupervised with her. He didn't, and now you're all here. What a mess. I'd maybe cut out the punishment of having them play with their brother. Definitely keep the punishments for speaking down to him. Make it clear that we do not talk to others like that in this household, but don't make him the object of their resentment. He deserves better than to be utilized as a tool for punishment, even if the objective is to create a better relationship. Encourage it. Don't harm it by making it a chore. OP says, I gave the punishment of playing with their brother because an apology won't mean much to him as he is 4. He will probably forgive them and just keep avoiding them like he's doing, so I feel like playing with him would help rebuild their relationship and would be a better apology to him. Also, they don't have to play with him for the 3 hours. I would take 30 minutes as long as they try to fix what was broken. Saravel replies, playing with their brother should not be a punishment. That's ridiculous. Imagine knowing that someone had to play with you as a punishment and how that would make you feel. 4-year-olds are more perceptive than you think. I'm going to do the controversial thing and agree with the comments, like I never do. I think if I were in his position and I picked up on the fact that my stepsisters were being forced to interact with me after talking down to me so much, I would pick up on that and I wouldn't like it. I don't know a good way to bridge the gap between them, but I don't think that forced and fake interaction is the way to go. If I were to headcanon a solution, it'd be a day out with the family where that interaction happens naturally. That way, they are out of the comfort of the house, where I'm guessing a lot of this happens. They are in an environment where, the default isn't going to be bullying him, and you can keep a watch on what they are doing and correct as you see necessary. Otherwise, what you've given us sounds like a really solid recovery. You didn't backtrack on your plan. You clarified what you meant by it. I like that. I think there's a big difference between saying I don't love you and saying you hurt me and we have to rebuild trust here. And that's what you did. I think it's great that you held your ground and you modeled what accountability has to look like in a situation like this. You've given them a good path forward, you've set boundaries, and you tied forgiveness to their actions. Though, I think you could be a bit better about those actions. At least you're trying, and I like that a lot. That's real parenting. You are doing a good job. It's good that you are not trying to punish, you are trying to teach. I think keep going with the therapy and the consistent boundaries that you have laid down here. Keep enforcing them. Keep that structure going in the house, and I think you will be sweet. I think you're handling this like someone that actually loves their kids, even when your husband is dropping the ball. I really don't know what to say. I do feel like, in a sense, he is failing them here, but at the same time, I don't think the answer is to completely block that woman from their lives. From my own experience, you do have to learn the hard way. But I also acknowledge that just because it worked in my situation doesn't mean that it works for everyone. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Our next post is by user Repulsive Silver, and it's titled, My teenage sister told my parents that my boyfriend stays over, and now my parents are cutting me off. Am I overreacting for not forgiving her? I, 25 female, own my house and pay for everything. My teenage sister lives with me rent-free, and I even cover her groceries and food. I'm basically taking care of her. My boyfriend sometimes stays over, the most is once a week, but he literally only stays in my room. He doesn't use shared spaces or bother her, and she barely even sees him. The thing is, she's been acting super passive-aggressive about it, like purposely bumping into him, giving attitude whenever she hears that he's staying over, and then she went behind my back and told my parents. Now they are furious, yelled at me, told me to kick my boyfriend out, told me that I lost the family tradition, and threatened to disown me because they are very traditional and don't believe in boyfriends staying over before marriage. I feel betrayed because I've done so much for her and she hasn't even apologized. Right now, I don't feel like forgiving her or even talking to her. Am I overreacting for feeling this way? Should I be the one to break the ice? Or is it fair to wait until she takes responsibility? Any advice on how to handle this would be great. In the comments, OK Tonight says, not overreacting. Cut you off? You're a whole-ass adult. It's your house and you pay the bills. What exactly are they cutting off? Contact? While you support their minor child? Time to put your sister out. Not only is she a brat, but she's putting your boyfriend in a very dangerous situation. What if she accuses him of doing something to her? OP, this right here. Get your sister out, not overreacting. I doubt her sister would accuse her boyfriend of taking away her virtue. She would be disowned by the parents, probably beaten, and maybe even honor killed. One of the three, at best, two worst. No living with men before marriage sounds like one of those extremist cults. You are not overreacting. She's a guest in your home, and your love life is none of her business, or your parents' for that matter. I suggest you sit her down and tell her that her continuing to be a guest in your home is conditional on her behavior. Make it clear that this is not a discussion, it's a statement. Either she behaves or she goes. Her choice. Yes, this. And no more being a snitch to mummy and daddy. Unless she wants to go live with mummy and daddy. I guess the sister didn't think about that. Or think about the fact that she's 16 and her international study program tuition could be cut off in a snap if sister is paying for it. Underreacting, throw her out. Sure, she's family, but so are your parents, and she just set your relationship with them on fire to be a brat. She can live with your parents. OP says, thank you. Though she's an international student here where I'm living, so I cannot even kick her out once I am her guardian. Send her back to your parents. Studying abroad is a privilege, not a right. She can learn a valuable lesson about keeping her mouth shut about things that don't concern her. Making her go home is not turning her out on the street. Back up to the post, there's an edit/update for context. I realized I left out something important. My parents did help with a down payment for my house, and they currently send my sister some rent money each month. I still pay the mortgage, bills, groceries, and everything else, and I'm the one fully supporting my sister, but I get that this means my parents feel like they have a say. Edit 2 for clarity. A lot of people keep saying, don't expect a child to lie for you. I want to be clear, I never asked my sister to lie. What I expected was that if she had an issue, she would bring it to me first instead of running to my parents. My relationship is my business, and I should be the one to decide when and how to tell my parents about it. Me and my sister had already talked about this. She knew that I wasn't ready to tell them about my boyfriend yet, and she knew exactly how big of a reaction my parents would have. So when she went behind my back, it wasn't about honesty, it was about punishing me. And to clear up another misconception, my parents aren't paying for my life. I pay my mortgage, bills, and groceries. The money that my parents send is for my sister as an international student. I transfer it straight to her, and I still cover extra out of my own pocket for her daily needs and lifestyle. Honestly, OP, yeah, I'd be pissed off too. She's intentionally throwing you under the bus here. She knows exactly what that would do and just how much shame you would get from your family unnecessarily. At this point, you're not overreacting for needing space. You stepped up, you offered to take her in for free, you are her provider and you will be her legal guardian at some point here. And she paid you back by betraying you. That is so nice of her. Thanks, sis. Anyway, I think you have an upper hand in this situation here. You are not tied at all to your family besides contact. So I don't think you have to forgive your sister right now if you don't want to, because there aren't really going to be any consequences for you either way. But when things calm down, as they will, I think explain the situation to her and that it has probably permanently damaged your trust in her. Not just because she told your parents, but she knew what would happen and she did it anyway. I think it's perfectly acceptable for you to have her at an arm's length and take away a lot of these privileges that you have been affording her from your own personal funding of her expenses, keeping her at an arm's length until she decides to take personal responsibility. Or if she decides to take responsibility for her actions. She needs to learn that she is not immune from consequences and that she ruined a good thing. Definitely not overreacting, but at the same time, because that trust is gone, you can't trust that she won't escalate this situation with false accusations against your boyfriend as well. So if you think that it's worth keeping her around, I respect that, but I believe that it can only really get worse from here. And now, onto the update. So I talked to my parents. They are a lot calmer now. We didn't really focus on the boyfriend part, more on my relationship with them. They actually apologized and acknowledged how much responsibility I've taken on, so things are okay between me and my parents now. With my sister though, it's still rough. She hasn't spoken to me since and is basically stonewalling. When I first talked to her, she said she wasn't going to like my current boyfriend, wouldn't make an effort to get to know him, and that I could do whatever I wanted, so I thought that it was fine as long as she didn't have to be close to him. Later, she told me she thought that she had made it clear she didn't want him staying over at all, and that her passive-aggressive behavior towards him was her way of showing me that. For context, she adored my ex, was fine with him living here full-time. She only talked to my current guy once, while I was there, and then decided that she didn't like him, even though he only stays in my room and she barely sees him. Financially, the house is in my name. Yes, my family helped with a down payment, and my parents send money to my sister, but she has her own allowance, and almost everything she does is still paid for with my card. Weekends out, restaurants, tickets, shopping, phone bills, etc., because I love her and want her to feel comfortable. That's why she's been able to save most of her allowance. On top of that, I cover the mortgage, bills, groceries, and all of the household costs. So right now, things with my parents are calm, but things with my sister are still hostile. Edit. Thank you for the comments. I have stopped funding her after she went behind my back. I feel that is an obvious thing to do. Yes, I do have cameras at home, and moving her out is not an option since I am her legal guardian. In the comments, Bent says, "Stop paying for everything for her. Let her use her allowance. She's being extremely disrespectful to you, and her behavior shouldn't be rewarded." And OP says, "I have stopped doing extra things for her since she broke the trust. Stop doing it all. Stop being a pushover. She is not your responsibility. She's your parents, so they can pay for her shit. She needs to learn that she cannot behave that way in your house, and she cannot make demands on you about who stays over. It's not up to her." OP says, "My parents send money to my sister, but she has her own allowance, and almost everything she does is still paid for with my card. Weekends out, restaurants, tickets, shopping, phone bills, etc. Why are you paying for her fun? Her phone bill? Like, sure, but the rest? She needs to get a job. Send her home to mum and dad. OP says, because we hang out with each other 24/7 and it's weird to split, so I cover everything. I have stopped this after she went behind my back. You're doing this to yourself, OP. Quit being a doormat for your family to step on. Cut off the funds to your sister and tell her to move out and live with her parents. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. As much as people are pushing OP in this situation to kick her ass out to the curb, which, I'll be frank, I think she deserves it. But I don't think that OP will do that. I don't think OP is going to kick her out and tell her to hop on a plane and move back into her parents' place. I think, OP, you're handling this really well. You're calm with your parents, but you're very firm on your sister in this situation, and that's what you want to be doing here. She's old enough to know that she crossed those lines, and if she wants to act like an adult who can make these big, bold choices that can and do seriously affect your life, then she can live with those adult consequences too. I don't think you need to chase after her or do anything to smooth things over at this point. I think you're right in keeping the phone bill covered, and it's your decision not to split expenses. That is something that you have decided for yourself, and I don't think it's fair for other people to be like, no, she has to split 100%. If that's what you want, that's fine. I agree with you that you shouldn't go above and beyond until she earns that trust back. But even then, you should never cover her fun costs. I think that is something that cannot be earned back. I think eventually when that allowance starts to run low, she'll realize, how much you did for her back then. But yeah, keep doing you, keep staying strong, keep those boundaries up, and keep those cameras up in the house. I still don't believe that it's above her to make false accusations against your boyfriend, especially when she wants to start having her fun expenses covered by you because her allowance goes low. If she does that, she's about to live with some real big adult consequences when she's out in the street. Thanks for the story, and thanks for the update. Our next post is by user RoutineKoala4, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for keeping my distance after my husband decided to move out? My husband, 32, and I, 31, have been married for 2 years and together for 6. We had a wonderful wedding surrounded by close family and friends, and were planning to save money to buy a house and build our future together. Lately, though, he had been ignoring my concerns about finding a new place and just seemed distant. Then, out of nowhere, he went on a trip with his kids to another state without really telling me in advance. When he came home, he told me that things weren't working out and that we should separate. I told him, okay, if that's how you feel, because I'm not going to beg someone to stay in a marriage. If that was his decision, then fine. He moved out and started living in a hotel, but he was constantly calling me every day. I was heartbroken and grieving, so I told him to come back, that we could work on things and try therapy together, but he refused. He said we could do therapy, but he wanted to keep living separately. I didn't agree with that, because it felt like he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. It's been about 2 months since this all happened, and I haven't spoken to him about it in about 2 weeks. The last time he called was before my birthday, asking if I was free. I told him no, that I wasn't happy with how things turned out, and that he needed to leave me alone since he was the one who decided to move out and wanted space. I think he didn't expect me to be so nonchalant about it, but I've told him before, I don't play mind games. We don't have kids or any major shared assets, just a storage unit. I told my parents I was moving on since he's the one who wanted space and has chosen to ignore me, and even his mother hasn't reached out. My parents suggested that maybe I should go look for him, but honestly, I don't want to. He made the decision to leave me and throw everything away after everything I did for him. So am I the asshole for actually respecting his decision and keeping my space? In the comments, not the asshole. You're doing the right thing. His behavior is so disrespectful towards you and your marriage. If this is what he wants, then just give it to him and go find your happiness elsewhere, because you certainly are not going to get it with him. Good luck in the future. OP says, this is exactly how I felt. He wanted to talk, so I thought maybe he was going to apologize about leaving and not telling me his flight details and hash it out, but those were the first words out of his mouth, and he even told his mum. Maybe he had already felt like this and I just told him, okay, pack your stuff, and I stepped outside, obviously devastated, yada yada and everything that has transpired after, but it's been 2 months already since he left, and I still get sad sometimes because you spent so much time with this person. We had our wedding photos and all the engagement pictures, and it's like, what the fuck? Pulled the rug right out from under my feet. It's like you embarrassed me, and even the way that you make me feel like I'm the jerk for maybe not begging him. It's conflicting, like, am I the asshole for not trying enough? Sepal Rastus replies to OP, my husband did the same to me this summer. I just agreed to it. Why would I beg him to stay if it would just be reluctant and eventually resentful? He seemed a bit offended that I didn't beg, but what use is that? And honestly, I'm having a good time living alone. I didn't realize what a slob he was until no longer having to clean up after him. Honestly, it sounds like he wanted the comfort of having you there emotionally while still living separately. That's not fair to you. You did the right thing by setting boundaries and respecting both your peace and his choice. OP replies, that's what I felt. The audacity to call me, knowing he is in the hotel and wanting to go to the movies like a day after. Get the fuck out. I already had one bad breakup, and I told myself I would never do that again. The Haitian mortician replies to OP, I'm proud of you. And I don't even know you, but it sounds hard, and you still said fuck off. Love that. OP replies to them, honestly, kudos to my parents. The grieving part is what sucks, but they supported me and said whatever I decided, it was okay. But I think there's that lingering of maybe I didn't care enough. Maybe it's meant to be. I don't fucking know. Always the doubts of what if, but this ain't Burger King. You can't have it your way. Damn, that's a banger line. What the fuck? This ain't Subway. You can't eat fresh, buddy. Not the asshole. It's wise that you don't go chasing him around because that would make you feel even more miserable as you lose your pride. What I would do, though, is get a lawyer ASAP and start preparing the divorce. Don't wait around hoping that he will come back. He might or might not. If he does, it'll only be out of convenience though, so you wouldn't want that. And then he'll do the same thing again anytime that he is bored. So get a lawyer, get the divorce, and be free to live your life, date other men, or go on a long trip around the world. And OP says, yes, I have started. I called that random sign that says $400 for a divorce lol, like the next week. I don't plan on waiting around at all. Not the arsehole. I had an ex pull a similar, move out, but try to keep me on call. He was cheating. He calls you when he's free. I'm guessing if you randomly called, he wouldn't be available to talk then. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Stay strong and find a better partner. Yeah, look, you're not the arsehole, OP. I think you're doing the exact thing that someone with self-respect should do in a situation like this. And we don't always see people doing that for themselves in these stories. I'm not gonna name names. Anyway, he made the call to walk away. He's the one realizing what that actually feels like. And, much like that commenter, sounds like he's not gonna be available every time you ring him. I don't think you're cold for giving him the space that he's demanding here. I think you're matching the energy that he started with. You're matching his energy. Like, if he actually wants to work on things here, he'd show it. He'd show it with his actions. Like Mr. Walter White said, no half measures and no hotel rooms either. That is, I don't know, is that not obvious cheating? That's like a big neon sign. I'm sleeping with other women, and I don't want to ruin the setup that I have right now. I think you shouldn't chase after him. I think you shouldn't go find him just because, maybe some people in your life think you should. We always have those flying monkeys. That just teaches him that what he did is right and he's allowed to do it and he can leave whenever he wants and you'll always be there waiting. I think you've proven how strong you are. Now I want you to keep your boundaries up. Let him live his life with the choices he's made. And I'm so keen to see that divorce lawyer sign those papers for you. Good luck. Unfortunately, just a short update. OP says, update. Thanks for everyone's responses. Glad I'm not the asshole. Funny to say, he did call me and text me saying he missed me, and I just ignored him, and right after work I will call the divorce attorney and block him on Facebook. It's already annoying, like, what a stupid game to play. And I say, kudos to you, OP. That's exactly the right move. He wanted out of the relationship, you stopped chasing, suddenly he's like, oops, come back here, I remembered what I just lost. Classic. I think your stonewalling of him, your blocking of him is driving him crazy, and if it isn't already, it will. It definitely will. Getting that divorce attorney under your belt, good way to avoid this bullshit back and forth game that he's trying to play. I think you deserve someone that isn't him in your life, someone that realizes your worth. I think you need to keep your head high, don't look back, but also come back with another update to tell us what he does after this, because that is saucy. Keep being you, OP. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Let's go. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.